Good morning, everybody. It is FMC here on Fightful Overbooked. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined as always by SP3, NBA Playoffs SP3. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I had a week to recover from our memorial service last week. I haven't had to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers besides, firing Frank Vogel. That was the only thing that I
that
had to.
was that went down well. That went, yeah.
And of course, the exit interviews with LeBron being his politically correct self and Russell Westbrook not
Passively,
giving
aggressively correct self.
and Russell Westbrook throwing a whole bunch of shade at everybody and their mama. That was fun, and I've been enjoying all the talk about Anthony, the lukewarm or like breast milk out in the sun takes of Anthony Davis being on the same level as Tim Duncan that everybody was saying when they won
What?
the championship.
Where?
Yes,
I was about to say, yeah, when they won the title. I'm gonna say this. We're not gonna talk too much about the Lakers. Anthony Davis, most overrated player in the league right now. They put this man on the NBA 75 team. What has he done besides that one title to be on this team? Made the playoffs once. They did beat the Blazers. Good on them. Can't stay healthy. I think like peak Anthony Davis is a very good player. Like if you're just like, hey, give me like what does peak Anthony Davis look like? He's a very good player. But it's like saying peak Derrick Rose. Peak Derrick Rose is better than peak Anthony Davis, but they didn't do
he
it long enough. We don't know how long their peak actually is because they've done it for like one season.
You're actually right. Like he's in that conversation with the Derrick Rose, the Grant Hills of the world, of these players that were really great at like one point of their careers, but they just couldn't stay healthy. Like Vince Carter would also be in that conversation, but he got healthy like the latter half of his career, which people thought it was going to be like 2 seasons, and it lasted like 6, 7. Like the latter half of his career lasted longer and was more healthy than the first half of his career when he was at his peak.
I find Anthony, and I like Anthony Davis like as a player. When I do like NBA all time draft on like 2K, like Anthony Davis is the guy I want because he can do everything, and of course he like that is his peak season. That's the ratings you have for him. So he's like
Yeah.
great, but I can't put this man as like one of the 75 best all time players, and I especially can't put him on the level of Tim fucking Duncan, who is the greatest power forward of all time. When this man had one season where he won a title and like really just like one good season. I mean, more
He
than
had
one good
two.
season,
He
but
had two with New
he's had a
Orleans.
few good
Yeah,
seasons.
he
Like,
had
yeah,
two with New Orleans
he's
when he
had
was
he's
healthy.
had good seasons. There's nothing about that, but uh, I'm not going Anthony Davis over a lot of these guys. I'm just not.
Okay,
Not.
that's enough Lakers talk. So let's talk
Yeah,
about the NBA playoffs. You
let's
had
go.
the play in, and my boys, my new team for the Brooklyn Nets, getting the win over the
Kyrie didn't
Cleveland
miss. You might be
Cavaliers.
right about him scoring 50. He was not missing anything.
Yo, this is why I'm rolling with the Nets. I am betraying everything that I believe in, that I hold sacred. I've never rooted for a team in New York in basketball in my lifetime. Like I think the closest I went was when I went to St. John's University, but then I used to go to the games at Madison Square Garden and root for the other team. So even then, when I went to a school in New York, I've never rooted for a New York-based team, but I am with KD and Kyrie. I just love this combination. Love watching them play on the floor. They're probably my favorite team to watch at this point. So I'm really looking forward. And this first round matchup with Boston might be the
Oh,
best of the first round.
I think it's this. It's probably this. I'm really looking forward to this Sixers Raptors matchup, though. I find this matchup fascinating. But the star power, there's certainly more star power in Nets Celtics because you got Tatum, Brown, Kyrie, and KD. So there's certainly more star power there. But both of those matchups are great. Let's start out east. We'll go top to bottom. We don't know who the eighth seed is yet. It's Cleveland and Atlanta tonight. Like, who are you feeling in this play-in matchup tonight?
This is tough, but I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna go with the New York Knicks killer Trey Young. He's had a hell of a season
He
that has
has.
really he's probably been the most underappreciated player in the NBA this season, really. When you look at his numbers and his output, because of his team not performing, because I had them as a top 6 seed going into the season, and they didn't play that way in the first half of the season. They really had to play hard the second half of the season after All-Star break to even get in play in contention. But the Cavs just have key injuries right now that I just can't really believe in them the way I do. And I always go with one game to play, the best player on the court. That's usually the team I'm going to go with. And I think the best player on the court is Trey Young. So I'm going with the Hawks.
I think he's the best player on the court as well. I think Jared Allen's going to try to play tonight, which will be a big boost to the Cavs defense. I don't trust the Hawks defense at all. And that's the thing. Like, I do think Garland can have a big game. I'm with you on Trey, though. I think we had this conversation of like Trey and Ja Morant, because I think Trey has been super underappreciated this year because his team has sucked, but like his numbers are fantastic. He didn't play any defense, which hurts him. But I love Trey Young. I'm kind of leaning Hawks as well. It's tough because I do like Cleveland's defense over Atlanta's defense, and I think both teams are going to be able to score. But I'm kind of leaning Hawks and Trey Young as well, honestly. So I'll go with the Hawks as well on this game. Okay, assuming the Hawks win, even if it's Cleveland, they're going to get the Miami Heat in the first round. I mean, I don't really think it matters who it is. I like Heat in 5, maybe 6.
Yeah, if it's Trey, I'll probably give him an extra game and go 6. If it's the Cavs, yeah, I'm going with the Heat in 5. I think the Heat just is a more complete team. They arguably, I think it's them, the Suns, and the Celtics have been the best teams in the regular season. So I'm gonna I'll go with the Heat to make it to the second round.
It seems pretty straightforward on this. I mean, the Heat are just the better team overall. They're going to have the best player. I mean, I probably like Trey more than Jimmy Butler just because I'm a big fan of Trey Young. But even if you go Trey over Butler, like the next 5 best players are all on Miami.
Exactly. Like
when you have like Lowry, Butler, Bam, even like Tyler Hero, like all these guys are better than anybody Atlanta has. So yeah, even if you want to go Trey over Butler, like the next 5 are still Miami players.
Yeah, and I would probably go with Jimmy over Trey as the best player
That's
on
fair.
the court because his stats and like his overall, if you're playing 2K, he's like an 86 to 88 in the regular season, and then he boosted up to 90 status in the playoffs this season.
I mean, not last year.
Not
last year, Jimmy Butler.
That was a mirage. That was a one-time thing. Every other playoffs he's played, he's been a better player than he is in the regular season. So I'll go with the Heat winning.
See, I don't think the Cavs have the offense to do much against Miami, and I don't think the Hawks have the defense to do much against Miami. And Miami's well-oiled offensively and defensively. So yeah, I could even see a sweep. But I'm always like shy on picking sweeps. I just feel like, oh, these are NBA teams. Like they'll get a game. And that's kind of where I'm feeling on this. Is like, oh, yeah, I'll give Atlanta or Cleveland like a game just out of kindness. But I could easily see Miami sweeping either of these teams. All right. So it seems pretty straightforward on 1 versus 8. I don't see too much of an upset there. But let's go to 2 and 7. Let's go Nets and Celtics because this is a huge, huge matchup. Celtics, man, bless them. They decided to go for it with that 2 seed. They could have easily lost that game, put the Bucks at the final game of the season against Memphis, but they played their top guys. They could have put the Bucks in the 2 seed. They're like, nope, give us the 2 seed. We'll take on Brooklyn. That's fine. They got it, and this is a crazy, crazy matchup for a 2 versus 7. I remember watching them. They played near the end of the year, like the final month of the season. It was on like ABC, like a Sunday afternoon, and like Jason Tatum just went off on this game. But this was a great game. It is tough for me to go against the Nets because it's tough for me to go against KD, Kyrie. The Celtics, though, like not even the second half of the season. It's really been the final 3 quarters of the season. They were terrible in the first quarter. But the final 3 quarters, they've been one of the best teams in the league. Jason Tatum's gone to another level. When the injury to Robert Williams hurts them, I don't know if he'll get back for this round, but that definitely hurts their defense. I like their defense better than I like the Nets defense. I still have to lean towards the Nets. It's so tough for me to go against Kevin Durant. Fuck Kevin Durant, but it's so tough for me to go against him like in these situations. It feels like it's going 7 regardless. It is just tough for me to go against this Nets team right now. What are you thinking?
Best player on the court. Once again, I'm gonna go with KD. I mean, this is really.
I thought you were about to say Kyrie.
Yes, the best offensive player on the court. I'm going with Kyrie. No, but this is really a series to see where Jason Tatum is at.
Yeah.
Because if Jason Tatum and the Celtics are able to beat the Nets, honestly, in my eyes, they're gonna have to go through the Nets with KD and Kyrie. They're gonna have to go through the Bucks with Giannis. They deserve to win the championship if they beat those two teams. Like, they really are setting the tone, and we can really see, because Jason Tatum, he's in that range of the guys like Luka Doncic and Devin Booker, who are like 20, the best players under 25 years old, but he doesn't get the type of recognition that Luka does. Like, people always say, if you're going to start a draft for an NBA team, you would take Luka first. And Devin Booker has been in the MVP conversation due to his play on the Suns, because of Chris Paul going down and them still keeping that number 1 seed in the West. But Jason Tatum really doesn't get that much play, but he's been on one of the best teams in the NBA this season with the Celtics. So if he's able to somehow defeat the Nets, this will really put him on that next tier with the Jaws of the world, with the Devin Bookers, with the Luka Doncic, of those guys under 25 years old who are going to lead the NBA. But at the end of the day, I'm going with the Nets. I'm going to ride with the Nets until the wheels fall off. No, this version of the Nets have not been beaten in the playoffs. That's all I could go by.
This version of the Nets haven't played in the playoffs. They haven't played together in the playoffs.
That's all I can go by, ladies and gentlemen. And they almost won last season. They almost beat the NBA.
It wasn't even
champions.
This version, though. Kyrie didn't even play.
Exactly, with just KD. He was like 4 inches away from winning the championship, basically. Because if they beat the Bucks, I don't think there's any other teams that were gonna beat them. I don't think the Suns would have beat them in the finals. I don't believe in the Suns. I'm sorry. This is we already did our bet last week.
I know you're a Chris Paul hater, but I think the Suns gonna beat that team.
The point choke. The point choke. I don't believe in him. So
not having that. Not going with that nickname. Definitely not doing that one, SP3.
No, but I really believe in the Nets. I think this offensive combination of KD and Kyrie. Yeah, I'm gonna believe in Jason Tatum enough to say this goes 7 though.
What do you think about Michael Jordan, Ben Simmons possibly playing in this series? You see those reports? Ben Simmons is walking around with all the confidence in the world, acting like he's Jordan. I don't know how true these reports are. They're saying the Nets are challenging him in practice. Now Ben Simmons has all this confidence. Of course, Steve Nash is like, I don't know if he's going to play. I'm going to believe Steve Nash over these Fed reports that Ben Simmons is now the greatest player in the world. I've seen the practice videos where Simmons is hitting like pull-up jumpers and stuff, and Sixers fans are like, yeah, I've seen these practice videos for about 5 years now. It doesn't mean anything in the game, which is 100% true. I love when the practice videos would come out like Simmons like hitting threes and everything's like, oh man, this is it. It's over right now. It's like he ain't taking none of these during the game. So I don't even know why anyone cares about this stuff. NBA players are very good in practice. All right. They're great in practice. James Harden tried one-legged step back threes in practice and stuff and then never tried it in a game. They're great in practice. That doesn't mean shit. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to play in this series. I think if you're the Nets, you don't want to rush him, but you're going to probably need him at some point in the East, and integrating him in could be a little difficult because he hasn't played basketball in a year. He's never played with this team. I don't know how that's going to work. I think this is a series where they might be okay. I think if they got Milwaukee, I think that would have been a little bit tougher because Milwaukee, Giannis and KD, it's kind of a wash in that like they can guard each other, they can kind of take each other out and neutralize each other as best as possible. But then you got Holiday and Middleton, who they would have like kind of no answer for defensively. That's where you need Ben Simmons. This feels a little like, all right, KD, Tatum, kind of a wash. Jaylen Brown is a guy who's like really got to step up and prove something in this series. Like I don't really have much doubts about Tatum or KD. Kyrie, I know you love him. I think he can be a little bit hit or miss with his efficiency, but when he's on, like he's one of the best offensive players in the league. Jaylen Brown's a guy who could really make or break himself in this series. I'm still going with the Celtics or with the Nets in 7. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to play. Maybe there's a shot he gets in game 6 or game 7.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought of in my head where you was talking. Like game 6, game 7, maybe you bring him back then on limited minutes. But yeah, the series that they really need him for is the Bucks. But I didn't think about the fact when I said that Kyrie was going to average 50 in the playoffs. He is going against Marcus Smart in this series. So I will drop it down. He's going to get 30. He's going to get 30 a game.
Wow, you have 20 points. Marcus Smart's at 20. I thought you were going to say, I'll drop it down and go 48.
Marcus Smart is in my top 5 for defensive player of the year. Like, yeah. I legit agree with what Doris Burke said. Doris Burke is like, this is a perimeter game, and he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the world. So, yeah, I will drop it down to a minus 30 points per game for Kyrie Irving, so it's going to be a very good series. And that game 7, that's going to be probably the best game, probably single game of the playoffs.
It's going to be a lot about adjustments as well. I mean, we see it all the time in the playoffs. Whoever wins game 1, everybody's going to overreact and be like, oh, yes, that's it. That's a series. But like, it is completely about adjustments in the playoffs. Steve Nash, I love Steve Nash as a player. Honestly, outside of Jordan, my favorite player of all time. His coaching resume is what it is. He's dealt with a lot of shit. And so I don't even know like how I can judge him. This might be the first real series where you can be like, all right, let's see like what Steve Nash is really made of. But he adjusted well in the Bucks series. And by adjusted well, he just gave Kevin Durant the ball a lot and played him 40 minutes. And I suspect it'll be sort of similar here. The Celtics.
I feel like Steve Nash is basically the coach of the Bel Air Academy, and then like pass the ball to Will. That's what he does. Pass the ball to KD. Pass the ball to Kyrie. That's the play.
That's what he did. That's legitimately what happened last year. And look, they didn't really have a choice. Harden was hobbled. Kyrie was out. So it's like, Kevin, just take the ball and make the right play. And look, it worked, or it almost worked. So I ain't even saying like this is the wrong strategy. Udoka, the Celtics head coach, he showed he can adjust this season. I mean, that team looked like they were on life support in the first quarter of the season. So the fact that they were able to turn around showed he can adjust. Yeah, I think the loss of Robert Williams is going to hurt them because KD and Kyrie, if they can get around that first wave, and that's going to be a tough first wave to get around, by the way. Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, that's a tough first wave. But the rim protection is a little bit lacking after that.
That was my big thing. Not to interrupt you, but like they don't have any bigs without Robert Williams. I don't believe in Al Horford. I don't believe in what's his name, Giles or Hiles. I don't. It don't matter. Robert Williams is their interior.
How can you not believe on bounce pass God, Al Horford, man?
I mean, I believed in Al Horford for 5 years with the Atlanta Hawks. Every time they were number 1 seeds and would get bounced in the first round, I believed in him then. But I'm not believing in him now. I believed in his first time with the Celtics, but I'm not believing him now at his advanced age can stop KD or Kyrie from getting to the hole.
I'm kind of talking myself into the Celtics, though. I really am. Like, their defense is going to give the Nets fits, even without Williams. Like, their perimeter defense is really good. Kevin Durant's still going to get his. That's the thing. Is like, it's also tough for me to, like, talk myself out of Kevin Durant, even though fuck him. I'm still gonna stick with Nets in 7. I'm not confident in this pick at all. I'm really not. It's a coin flip series to me.
It
It
really
really
is.
is. It's a
It
coin
really
flip
is.
series.
I feel like it's gonna come down to one possession in Game 7. Honestly,
Yeah,
that's how it really feels with this one. I could be wrong going with the Nets, but I'm gonna go with the underdog Nets.
I think if Ben Simmons plays, the Nets are more likely to lose.
Yes, I agree. I
That's
agree
my
with
hot
that.
take.
I agree with that. Ben Simmons, I'm sorry, you haven't played since you had the worst series of an all-star player that I ever seen in my life. In my life on an NBA court against the Atlanta Hawks last playoffs. So to see him come back in the playoffs, it doesn't leave me with a whole bunch of optimism for the Brooklyn Nets. But this team that they have constructed right now, I feel like offensively they're firing on all cylinders. Yeah, like I said, Kyrie can't miss at this point. He is well
He's gonna
rested.
miss. He's
He is
gonna.
gonna he is gonna miss
There's a
against
difference
Marcus Smart.
between facing. There's a difference between facing the Cavs defense, which has been good all season, but fell off after Jared Allen, and facing the Celtics defense of Marcus Smart. Big
This is
difference.
true. This is true. I'm not denying that. That's why I said I will drop down from 50 to 30 points per game for Kyrie Irving during this series. But I think 30 points from him, 30 to 35 from KD, and the rest of the team doing what they need to do, making open shots. I think that's enough for the Brooklyn Nets to take this in 7. And plus I'm a Laker fan. I'm not rooting for the Celtics. So
That's your biggest thing is you can't pick the Celtics as a Lakers fan. That's really what it comes down to.
this is a lifetime. This is a lifetime of how I've been brought up. I
I mean,
could never root for the Celtics.
I respect it. I completely respect it. Like I completely get where you're coming from. Man, I can't wait for this series. This
It's
seems
gonna
such a
be
good
fun.
series.
It's gonna be so much fun.
All right, so we're both in agreement on the Nets. I'm really hesitant on this one though. I'm gonna flip after game 1. Like whoever wins game 1, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, the Celtics got this, or I'm gonna be like, oh yep, definitely the Nets. I believed in them the entire time, and it's one game. I love how everyone, and I'm gonna do it as well. Even though I'm saying right now, don't overreact to game 1. I'm gonna completely overreact to game 1.
We're leaving the door open for you to change your pick next week.
Yeah,
We'll
100%.
leave the door open for that.
100%. Bucks and Bulls. This seems pretty straightforward, honestly.
Man,
How the Bucks lucked out so much, like getting the 3 seed. It's like, wait, you're just gonna hand us this Bulls matchup? Like, okay, cool. Like every other, I mean, the 1 and 8, like it shouldn't be too bad for Miami. But the Bulls, the way they played in the second half of the season, the way they played against top teams all season, like the way the Bucks look and everything, the Bucks are like, thanks guys, give us this Bulls matchup. Like this, it's another one where I don't feel comfortable saying sweep just because I hate picking sweeps. But if the Bucks don't win this in 5, I would be pretty surprised.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say it's a sweep. Like
Okay.
I've said this. I've said this since Bob O'Neill tried to castrate my Los Angeles Lakers over on the Distraction YouTube channel. I will say it here that no, the Bulls is probably not going to win a game. I think DeRozan had a great season. I think this team, as constructed, is going to be a playoff team next season as well. But I don't believe them against the reigning NBA champions, a 2-time MVP, a defensive player of the year, probably going to make first team all defense, first team all NBA this season. Yeah, I'm going with the Bucks.
Yeah, this seems like a pretty straightforward matchup. Giannis is the best player on the floor. Middleton's probably the second best player. Fuck, even Drew Holiday might be the third best player on the floor. Playoff DeRozan, I've seen this man too many times in the playoffs do what he does. I like Zach LaVine, but we haven't seen him on this stage, so I don't know quite what you're getting out of him. The Bulls have been just so bad against top teams. Billy Donovan, I did my Billy Donovan rant like last week, but I have no faith in this man. I don't even have much faith in Budenholzer, even after he won a title, but like much like Steve Nash's adjustment was, hey, Giannis, just like do stuff. And Giannis is very good at doing stuff. And he's even better this season. This seems like a pretty easy matchup for the Bucks. Like their defense is too good. They got Giannis. Maybe the Bulls get a game, like just because, but outside of that, I just don't see it for the Bulls. I don't know what they have to offer that the Bucks can't counter and do better.
Yeah, there's no side of the ball where I think that the Bulls are better. I don't think they're better offensively. I don't think they're better defensively. This seems like the easiest prediction of the Eastern Conference. Like we could sway back and forth on Nets and Celtics. You can have a debate on if it's 5 or 6 games for the 1-8 matchup, but this is a foregone conclusion. It's going to be the Bucks in either 4 or 5.
Yeah. Raptor Sixers. If Celtics Nets wasn't a thing, this would be my favorite matchup in the entire playoffs first round, because like the Sixers, they've got the star power, they've got Embiid and Harden. This Raptors team, one, I don't think anybody expected them to be a 5 seed. It seemed like they were in the play-in territory for most of the season, and then they jumped up to the 5 seed. They don't have a star, even though Siakam is playing like kind of next level basketball, and Fred VanVleet's been playing really well all season. But as a team, they're really great. The coaching matchup and playoffs is a lot about coaching. Nick Nurse, I'm giving him a big edge over Doc Rivers. Nick Nurse has won a title. He knows how to make these adjustments. Doc Rivers, I've seen this man flame out in the playoffs way too many times to have any type of faith in him. James Harden, I've seen him flame out in the playoffs way too many times to have too much faith in him. Embiid, I really like Embiid, but they're going to trap him. They're going to send 2 or 3 at him. And I was reading stats of like, Embiid, he's improved his passing out of like double teams and stuff this year. But against the Raptors, like when they trapped him and sent doubles and triples at him, 8 assists to 8 turnovers. So it ain't like he's like lighting the world on fire when they send extra guys at him, at least against the Raptors. Maybe against other teams who kind of do like a soft double on him, he does okay. But the Raptors go aggressive, and that could be an issue. Yeah, like that could be an issue for me. I don't like the Raptors offense. They don't have much to offer offensively, but they got Siakam who can get buckets. They got VanVleet who, like, we've seen him hit big shots and everything. I still want to lean towards the Sixers because Embiid is that good. And like, I feel like Harden can do enough, but this is a tough out for the Sixers in the first round. Like a really, really tough out, because the things that the Raptors do well are the things that the Sixers can kind of struggle at. And the coaching, I said it just a few minutes ago, like a lot of the playoffs just comes down to coaching and adjustments. And Nick Nurse has a big edge in that area over Doc Rivers. And the talent disparity, like Embiid is obviously a big time talent disparity there, but Doc Rivers is a guy who just like brings the talent down in the playoffs, and that's not good either. And James Harden, I mean, look, until this guy proves something, it's gonna be very easy to continue to doubt him. And it ain't like this ain't prime James Harden either.
No.
James Harden in his prime was obviously a big difference maker. He's lost a step. He's still very good, but he's lost a step. And prime James Harden was struggling in these moments. I don't know how good lost a step James Harden is in these moments, but I'm willing to bet against him. That said, I'm still going with the Sixers.
I love that was the big lead up to still.
It's still tough for me. Like, I really like Joel Embiid. He's not my MVP. He's not going to win MVP.
MVP.
He doesn't deserve to win MVP.
He does.
But
do you see the broken down James Harden this man has had to deal with? He's gone down every single stat line.
Doc is going to play DeAndre Jordan too. Like, he's going to play DeAndre Jordan for no reason. Oh man, it's not going to surprise me if the Raptors win this series at all. Like, it's not going to surprise me at all. I just have a tough time going against Joel Embiid right now. And it's not like Joel Embiid has Money Mark says Tobias Harris. Like, man, Tobias Harris he's been so hit or miss. He's a guy that can like kind of get hot though and hurt you a little bit. Not having Tybal for the games in Toronto is going to hurt them, at least defensively. Offensively, like, he gives you absolutely nothing. And it could actually hurt the Raptors defense because they could just ignore him offensively. But like defensively, that's going to hurt because I think the Sixers like to switch a lot, and the Raptors can at least hunt those matchups. Like Anunoby's he's gonna have to play better. Scotty Barnes, we'll see if he can go to that next level as a rookie. I have no doubts about Van Vliet. I think Van Vliet's going to kind of be in for a big series because I think he can hunt matchups and go after it. Yeah, Maxey, he's going to have to step up and carry big offense for the Sixers. I'm going with the Sixers in 7. I don't feel confident at all I feel less confidence about this than I do Nets and Celtics.
Like, I really want to pick the Sixers. Don't get me wrong. I think Maxey is going to have a great series, actually. Tobias Harris, yeah, he's too hit or miss for me to have any confidence in him. Maxey was on my fantasy team as well. Bad company, Bill. So I know that Maxey can deliver when he needs to. That's why I think that that's gonna be the best addition by subtraction because they don't have Ben Simmons this year, and I think that the Sixers are just going to play much better, but it's going to really come down to the coaching. And who do I believe in? Doc Choke Rivers, or do I believe in future Los Angeles Lakers coach Nick Nurse?
Nick Nurse is not going to the fucking Lakers. His contract isn't up. They have no draft picks to trade for him.
Future Los Angeles Lakers coach Nick Nurse, either him or Mark Jackson. I'm fine with.
Oh God, Mark Jackson's awful. Please take Mark Jackson. LeBron loves him.
Will you stop the slander of Mark Jackson? Mark
Jackson's an awful head coach. This isn't slander. This is facts.
He put together the next dynasty of the NBA. He put together the Golden State Warriors.
He didn't put them together. He held them back. He got fired, and then they won a bunch of titles after that because they didn't have him holding him back anymore. There's a reason, by the way, Mark Jackson got fired by the Warriors, and then he's been out of the league ever since, despite every team apparently having interest in him since he's been fired. These coaches that just can't immediately get a job, or at least get a job after taking a year off, there's a reason for that. It's because they're not very good. Mark Jackson's an awful coach.
Jason Kidd won an NBA championship with the Los Angeles Lakers as our assistant coach, and he's done very well with the Dallas Mavericks this year.
I'll say this about Jason Kidd: he was smart to take an assistant job and not just go to the booth for a year, because at least he stayed around the game. Mark Jackson just goes to the booth and just criticizes a bunch of guys and says his little catchphrases and shit, but he's not an actual good head coach. He's not in those rooms.
There go that man again.
No, he's not in those rooms. He's not doing X's and O's. He's just throwing out his catchphrases on TV because you don't actually have to be good on television.
Hand down, man down.
This is like saying, Charles Barkley can just walk in and be a coach just because he's been on television and stuff. He's a former NBA player. No. Anybody can get these television jobs. They ain't going to make for good head coaches. Mark Jackson sucks. He's an awful head coach. I hope the Lakers hire him on LeBron recommendation because they're going to suck again next year. And then LeBron's going to be like, I didn't have anything to do with the coaching pick. That wasn't my choice. You know, the front office talks to me and they get my input, but like I didn't make that decision. And LeBron's going to take no responsibility for Mark Jackson, even though, you know, he's going to Pelinka and whoever every day, be like, hire Mark Jackson. I love Mark Jackson. You take no responsibility when they suck again next year because Mark Jackson sucks as a head coach. Please hire Mark Jackson. We're going to have this conversation a year from now on ESPN when ESPN buys us out of FMC. And I hope that happens, by the way.
Yes,
and I'm going to bury Mark Jackson. We're going to be rich. I'm going to bury Mark Jackson on that as well. Like I told you a year ago, when 10 people were watching us on YouTube, that Mark Jackson was awful. Now, in front of 10 million people on ESPN, Mark Jackson still an awful head coach.
I don't care because I use Mark Jackson catchphrases in my everyday life. I got to use a Mark Jackson catchphrase in my article on Wrestle Talk. So Mark Jackson deserves a job in NBA, not necessarily the Los Angeles Lakers job.
No, you said you wanted him in the Lakers. You're going to lie in this bed, SP3. You're going to lie in it. And next year when we're on ESPN, we're going to run this clip back and you're going to be like, I didn't want Mark. You're going to LeBron James this shit. Like, I didn't want Mark Jackson. I told you Mark Jackson was awful.
I said he's in the options. I said Nick Nurse first, and then I said Mark Jackson. He's in the top. He's in the top 3 of who I would choose because Mark Jackson, he does have good
Your
qualities
options suck if Mark Jackson is top 3. Go get somebody else.
I don't know all the available options
Get
in the
Phil.
NBA right
Get
now.
Phil off of the peyote farm and bring him back in.
He
You'd
loved
rather
that. He
have
loved
him.
that weed. He loved that weed too much, man. I don't
You'd
blame
rather
him.
have him than Mark Jackson.
Of course, I would love Phil
Me,
Jackson.
I'm
Phil
1-0.
Jackson.
I'm 1-0 as a head coach. I'm
No,
1-0.
I even retweeted you and I put hashtag don't hire Jeremy. I don't
Why? I'm better
because
than Mark Jackson.
because you slandered the Los Angeles Lakers in your pitch to become a Lakers coach. You
I
called
didn't
them little
slander them.
you
I
called
said
them
I
little
have.
children.
Yeah, I said I got experience in coaching little whiny girls, which is factual. That's what they are. Bunch of whiny
Anthony
girls.
Anthony Davis is not a whiny girl. He
I
is a
got these girls playing
fragile.
defense.
Oh my
SB3, you
god.
should see my coaching. You should see how good I am. I got them playing defense. I got them playing fundamental basketball out there. No organization or anything before me. I go into practice. I was like, here's what we're gonna do. I don't play in these fundamental basketball. The Lakers don't play none of that shit. That's what
You're
I'll
the
come in there and do. Get them play defense and play fundamental basketball.
you're the Gordon Bombay of basketball,
Yeah,
basically.
you don't want me as the coach? You don't want me as
No,
the
I don't.
coach, as the Gordon Bombay?
'Cause
You'd rather have Mark Jackson just because he says I got catchphrases. Got a
what's
million
your catchphrase?
catchphrases.
What's your catchphrase better than "Mama, there go that man again"? That's the one
Fundamental
I use.
basketball. That's my
Oh
catchphrase.
my god, you're still in catchphrase.
Wins.
You're still in
Wins is my
catchphrases.
catchphrase.
Oh my god, you're still in
That's my
catchphrases now
catchphrase.
from Charlie Sheen. Will you stop? Will you stop? But no,
Winning.
all I will say is that Nick Nurse is the number one option. That's gonna be the future Los Angeles Lakers coach. So I want to go with the Raptors here, but I can't go against the next NBA MVP. I wish they would just do the awards after the regular season because I don't understand the whole doing it after the playoffs. It makes no sense to me and never will. I also don't get why now Jokic and Embiid can be listed as forwards when they've played center all year on the All NBA team. I'm all fine and dandy for it because Jokic and Embiid are going to make the first team. So I'm all fine and dandy with
I
it
don't
for
know if they
now.
will because they're like going to split forward and center votes. Like one of
That
them's
is
just going to
true.
end up
But
second team.
nah, I think they will both make the first team. I think Giannis will be the other forward. I think it will be Booker.
Luca. Luca's the other guard.
You think
It's
Luca?
what it's 100%
Yeah,
Luca.
yeah, you're
Like
probably right. Yeah,
I'm more hesitant on picking Booker. And my friend asked me the same question, and like I'm more hesitant on picking Booker than I am Luca. Like I think Luca is easily there. I'm like Giannis will probably be the other forward. Durant's injury hurts him a little bit.
exactly. That's what I say. He's gonna make. I put Durant's second team. That and I put Durant and Tatum is going to be
Yeah,
second team forwards, and LeBron will be third team.
I would
But
have
yeah,
Tatum. I would have Tatum first team if Giannis or not Giannis, Jokic and Embiid split the vote.
we're
Like I
centers. Yeah,
yeah
yeah.
yeah. I would have Tatum first team at forward.
Yeah, and at this point, I really think that it should just be all like it should just be the five best players at this point. If
I
you're
kind
gonna
of agree
do
with that.
that, it should just be the five best players, or the 15 best players overall for the NBA all NBA teams. But like I said, I've been riding this Embiid bandwagon, and I always go with the best player on the court winning. So I'm gonna agree with you and say Sixers in 7. But this is you have your door open to change your pick for Brooklyn and Boston. I'm not changing my pick there. I'm leaving the door open for this one. I may change it to the Raptors only because Nick Nurse is the best coach on the court.
I think the Raptors are going to win game 1, and I think there's going to be a lot of overreactions. And I
Yes.
don't think that it'll be completely unfounded either. Or the Sixers are going to win game 1. That's a hot take. The Sixers or the Raptors will win game 1. But I do think it'll be like overreaction city. Like the Raptors will win and everyone will freak out, but then the Sixers will kind of punch back, or the Sixers will win and then the Raptors will make the proper adjustments. Nick Nurse will make the proper
Yeah.
adjustments on it.
I,
But I actually do think the Raptors win game 1.
I think the Sixers, right now I'm saying the Sixers in 7, but I don't believe in the Sixers to make it past that. I think they make it to the Eastern Conference semifinals and they're going to lose to the Miami Heat in
Yeah,
the
they'll
next
get
round.
Miami, and that's Miami's like Sixer or like Raptors like juiced up. Like
Yes.
just well-oiled team, but they have better players.
Exactly. They have a player that can be the best player on the court any given night in Jimmy Butler. Even though and that matchup of Embiid versus Bam, I think Bam, as far as one-on-one matchups in the East, he's going to be the guy that gives Embiid the most problems. So that's why I'll go with Miami over the Sixers. But for now, I'll go with the Sixers because I do believe Embiid is going to go off because he wants to make sure these stupid media members that are trying to give Jokic another free pass. I know he's the first player ever to a 2,000, 1,000, 1,000. Oh, it's like Russell Westbrook when he averaged a triple-double. When someone does something for the first time ever or the first time in a long time, we got to give him the MVP. Not the guy that's working the hardest, the guy that's had to deal with Ben Simmons not playing the whole damn year, who had to deal with a deflated or a puffed up
The Nuggets have
version
not
of
had their
James
2
Harden.
and 3
Come
best
on.
players. The
He's
Nuggets
dealt
haven't
with
had their 2 and 3
more.
best players.
Embiid has dealt with more, even with Jokic having a whole bunch of bums on his team.
Yes,
Embiid
exactly.
has dealt with more because at least the Nuggets. I'll take what I think is Mike Malone is their coach. I'll take that over Doc Choke Rivers. He's had to deal with that too. He's had to deal with Doc Rivers as his damn coach.
A lot of Nuggets fans don't like Michael Malone. They'll
Yeah, they
tell you.
don't.
I think
They
like
don't.
Malone is like a fine coach, but you'll see a lot of Malone and Doc Rivers comparisons if you look hard enough on NBA Twitter, and you ain't got to look that hard.
No.
So I don't know if the coaching argument is the best one there. Embiid's not the MVP.
Embiid MVP. I went down the rabbit hole of like going down someone's replies who like said either Embiid is MVP or Jokic is MVP. My God, we really had that was like we were like era defining in our debate of that MVP because it's gotten worse and worse as weeks has gone on with people split down the middle of I'm going with Embiid, I'm going with Jokic. I love how we were ahead of the curve on that.
We were. Let's move over to the West. The Phoenix Suns. They're either going to get the Pelicans or the Clippers that play in tonight. I really want to pick the Pelicans to beat the Clippers. I really
do. You know me. Like this is the same thing with the Celtics that I said before. My Laker heart, my purple and gold heart, it just won't allow me to say the Clippers are gonna win. And after the display of the Timberwolves.
We'll talk about that.
The display of the Timberwolves against the Clippers, I think that it would be very appropriate if the Pelicans beat them without Zion, with McCollum. This would be a very big game for McCollum, actually. I think
they haven't had Zion all season. I don't even be like, they don't have Zion. They didn't have him all season. So
this is true. But I feel like this is a big game for McCollum to kind of like be like, I've been in the shadow of Dame Lillard for a while. I'm the best player on this court against a Clippers team that has played hard basically the whole entire season, who's got Paul George back. And I just love seeing Paul George fail. So that's why I'm going to go with the Pelicans to win this one.
I do love seeing Paul George fail. CJ McCollum, man, like I knew he was good. He was just always like wildly inconsistent. He always played great against OKC, but like he was just always very inconsistent. It's like, all right, how good is CJ McCollum? He's been tremendous in New Orleans, like really fucking good. And I mean, he was great in the play-in game the other night, man, against the Spurs. Like he's really good. I've always liked Ingram's game. I think he's tremendous as well. The Clippers are just a very good team. Paul George, like fuck him, but he plays well. Like for the most part, it'll be hit and miss in the playoffs. But the playoff P jokes are gonna live forever, especially when he doesn't play well in the playoffs. I'm leaning towards the Clippers. I'm definitely rooting for the Pelicans, though. I'm really looking forward to this game. Like the games the other night were horrible. The 7-8 games were great on Tuesday night. Like those were really fun games. The 8-9 games were awful, just 2 blowouts. I think the games tonight, I don't care too much about Cleveland and Atlanta, but I'm really looking forward to this Clippers in New Orleans game. And I'm also looking forward to it because if the Clippers lose, OKC's pick becomes better. There's a chance that it is technically a lottery pick, and there's a chance, like a 2.1% chance that it could be like a top 4 pick, which I don't think will happen. But hey, look, give me some odds on it over 0%. Give me something here. And if it's a higher pick, it becomes easier to package as well. So that helps as well. And that's another reason why I'm definitely rooting against the Clippers is from my OKC standpoint. And I just love rooting against Paul George. I love Ty Lue as a coach, though. Like he's great. The Clippers, despite all their flaws, like they always play hard and stuff. But man, we have Joel Pearl. We just got done talking about the Raptors.
We spent a good amount of time too, Joe.
Yeah,
just
we both picked against them, but
go back a couple of minutes and get angry at us picking against them.
Joel Pearl doesn't know shit about basketball. All right, he doesn't know anything about basketball. I'm going with the Clippers, but I could see McCollum just having like a great game. He's really good, and I'm happy for CJ McCollum like having this coming out party in New Orleans. He's great. I'm going with the Clippers though. So let's say we got Clippers Suns. I don't think Kawhi's playing. Like we haven't heard like anything on Kawhi, right?
No.
Like there's just been nothing on him. So I can't assume Kawhi's playing at all. Clippers are good. This is really gonna hurt my like Suns gotta make it to the finals in 4 things because I could easily see the Clippers like just winning 2 games just because they are just a stingy matchup. I've been reading a lot on the Phoenix Suns. They're probably better than even I've given them credit for. It's like that's a really well-oiled team right there. I still think the Suns like probably beat. If they get the Pelicans, I like it a little bit more because the Pelicans defense just is going to offer very little resistance against the Suns, and I definitely like the Suns defense against the Pelicans offense. The Clippers might get 6. I think 5 is still, whether it's the Clippers or the Pelicans, Suns at 5.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Suns at 5 against the Clippers with just Paul George. If there's no Kawhi, because we haven't heard anything about that. If it's the Pelicans, I'll still go Suns in 5. I mean, they have the better chance of winning 2 games, in my opinion. Because I really like this McCollum and Ingram matchup. I don't know how next season, if Zion's healthy, how he's gonna mesh with them, but they have a potential big 3 that can be at least a bottom half of the West playoff team next season. So hopefully Zion's healthy. Then hopefully Zion wants to play for the Pelicans because they do have a bright future if that is the case. But I think the Suns are the best team in NBA in basketball right now. So I'll go with the Suns in 5.
Just stay healthy, Phoenix. That's all I'm asking for. Just stay healthy, guys. Okay? Please stay healthy.
I mean, we're trying to count on Paul George. Chris Paul. See, it's the same thing to me. Chris Paul. We're counting on Chris Paul to stay healthy, ladies and gentlemen.
I need Chris Paul to win a championship just to shut you up. That's it. I'm gonna throw the biggest. I have no ties to the Phoenix Suns. I like Chris Paul because of 1 season in OKC, literally just like 1 season. I need Chris Paul to win now, just so I can come on here and just throw a parade. I'm going to throw a parade on this show when Chris Paul wins the championship this year.
And JJ had the best suggestion for our bet, because we did bet last week, if you weren't here with us, that Jeremy says the Suns are not going to win not going to lose more than 4 games on their way to the NBA Finals. I said it's definitely going to be within like 6 or so they lose. So JJ had the best suggestion that we do on an episode of FMC, a PowerPoint presentation of all positive things about the other person's team.
Okay.
So I can only say positive things about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'll have the PowerPoint presentation. We'll share our screen and I'll show you all their draft picks and everything like that. You can only say positive things about the Los Angeles Lakers, about LeBron's greatness, about Nick Nurse, about to be our future head coach. So I think that's the best. That's the best one I saw from the suggestions.
All right, I like that. We don't have to spend any money either, which is very good because I'm about to spend a lot of money on jewelry. All right, Memphis and Minnesota. What is your hot take on Minnesota and their celebration?
I mean, they already won the championship, so I don't even know what we're really previewing here because, oh my God, Pat Bev This man got fined for what he had to say in the post interview. Like, it wasn't enough what he did on the court, jumping on the scores table. They literally, I think it was Stat Muse had the post after the game. What do these three players have in common? And it was Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and Pat Beverly. And then I saw somebody in the replies put all three of them on the scores tables. Kobe after he won the championship, Dwayne Wade after he won the championship, and Pat Bev after he won a play-in game.
Why are you a hater of fun? This team, Minnesota, has been down on their luck for so many years. They made the playoffs like once in like 25 years, like dating back to the Garnett year, and then they lost in like I think they lost in 4, maybe it was 5 against Houston because they're like the 8th seed. They, by the way, they got into that playoffs that year in essentially a play-in game because them and Denver had like the same record, and then they beat Denver in like game 83 is what they ended up calling it. It's a young team, man. Anthony Edwards, he showed out. Like, do I think you should be celebrating that much over a play-in victory just to get a 7th seed? No. Definitely not.
My man was all over Instagram. Like, he was
tone it down just a little bit. I'm fine if you want to celebrate that stuff. I'm completely fine if you want to celebrate that stuff. Tone it down just a little bit, though. They did go a little over the top, but have fun. Have fun with it, man. You know.
I'm sorry. The one I was upset about was really Cat. Cat celebrating because he didn't have anything to celebrate. That was an embarrassing display. Yeah, I literally said he was going to be the best player on the court because, you know me, I love to disrespect Paul George anytime I can. So I said
Anthony Edwards was the best player.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards was. I should have went with him as the second best player on the court to really disrespect Paul George. But I'm sorry. I said this to the Knicks fans last year when they celebrated one win in a 7-game series. They had a whole damn parade in front of Madison Square Garden, and I was embarrassed to be a New Yorker. So I got to keep the same energy for the Minnesota Timberwolves celebrating a play-in win like they won a championship, especially because I know Pat Bev, this was for personal reasons because basically the Clippers told him that he was done and now he's on the team that basically puts them at risk of not even making the playoffs. So I understand for Pat Bev, but the whole entire team acted like they won the championship. That was just a little bit extreme. I think it was less extreme than the New York Knicks fans celebrating their damn win in a 7-game series like it was the damn that was when they were only been out of the playoffs for 8 seasons. People would say, "Oh my God, they've been out of the playoffs for 8 seasons. Of course, they're gonna celebrate a playoff win like that." I'm sorry, no, it's embarrassing. Act like you've been there before. That's
but if you haven't been there, it's tough to act like you've been there.
Does Minnesota Timberwolves have made it to the conference finals? You know how I know?
Because not these guys.
Not these guys, but I was 16 years old. They had Latrell Sprewell, they had Sam Cassell, they had Kevin Garnett. Yeah, it's been a long time since then, though. They've made it to the playoffs with Cat when they had Jimmy Butler, but they haven't been here in quite some time. So I'll give them the pass at least here. But I got Memphis winning in 6.
I think this is a tough series from Memphis because Minnesota is sort of in a similar position. I mean, Towns has more playoff experience, like of the top players than I guess Memphis was in the playoffs last year, and Steven Adams does have plenty of playoff experience. But this is on the whole, both teams are in a similar position where like they're not fully battle tested. Like the core guys are not fully battle tested as a team. Like as a togetherness team, neither of them are battle tested. So they're both in that position of like, hey, too young to really know any better type of thing. I think it's a tough matchup because I fully expect Towns to play much better than he did against the Clippers. He usually does very well against Steven Adams. I've watched him kill Steven Adams for years. And this is a worse version of Steven Adams, and this is a better version of Karl Anthony Towns. Ja is still great. I've always liked D'Angelo Russell. I know he can be hit or miss. Anthony Edwards looks like he's completely rising up to the moment. I do think Patrick Beverly is just going to annoy the shit out of Ja Morant enough to like get under his skin and everything. I don't think Patrick Beverly tricked y'all but I also don't think he's the greatest defender in the world. I never really thought that, and especially at this point. And I do think Ja that can kind of do things to him that is gonna make expose him and stuff. But Patrick Beverley knows all the little tricks and everything that is just gonna annoy somebody like
Yeah.
Ja Morant, a young player, and that's where I worry. I think Memphis in 7.
Wow.
I'm fairly confident. This is a tough matchup. I like this Timberwolves team. Like for all they celebrated too much type of things. And I haven't been sold on Memphis for a lot of the season. I do think their defense is what's going to end up winning them this series. And I do like Ja Morant. I don't know if he's the best player on the floor because I'm a big fan of Karl Anthony Towns. And I think he's a lot better than given credit for because he's just been on bad teams. And even this Minnesota team isn't great. I'm going Memphis in 7. I don't feel super confident about it. I'm probably at like 65% with this pick. But I could see Towns like having a big series. It would not shock me if the Timberwolves win this series.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me either. That's why I said I'm going with Memphis in 6. I don't think it goes 7 because I just don't believe in Towns that much. Like I think Towns is a good player, but he has the games like he had in the play-in with just like 11 points, 5 of 14, fouled out. He has those type of games too often for me to have any stock in them forcing it to a game 7. And Memphis, even if Pat Bev is effective against Ja Morant, they have shown they can still win without Ja being Jaws. But I feel like this is going to be the most fun matchup in the West because you got Ja Morant on one side, you got Anthony Edwards on the other. Those are just two great young players, and I think they're going to show out in this series going head to head.
I'm looking forward to this one. This is kind of an under radar matchup because it doesn't have full star power. Ja, like he's not promoted by the league enough. Like he should be one of the top stars. And Towns just been under the radar for pretty much his entire career. But I think the world of Karl Anthony Towns. And because we don't know too much about these, like these are two teams that just haven't been here before. Memphis was here last year, but they lost pretty easily in the first round. And then Minnesota, like this version of Minnesota hasn't been here before. I think this is a big series for one of these teams to like show out and like actually make a statement on who like, because these teams are young. Like both of these teams could be running things back next year. And even if they lose, it's like, okay, we can kind of grow from this. I think there's more pressure on Memphis just because they're the 2 seed. And so people maybe expect more. But at the same time, they're not expecting too much from them because they haven't been in this position before. I like Memphis. I'm looking forward to this series. I think it'll be a very fun series. I hope it's a competitive and it's a good series. I suspect it will be, but you never know with this kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to this one though. Again, if you don't have like an investment on any of these teams or playoffs or anything, like hitch your wagon to one of these teams. I think they're going to be around for a while. And this is a series where you could see a lot of good young talent and possibly like show out. And when you look back in a couple of years, like, oh yeah, remember that? Like this was their first big moment in the NBA and now look at them.
Yeah, it's kind of like how what the your boys, the Thunder, was in like 2010 when they had their great series against the Lakers. Except this is like two young teams going head to head with each other. That a lot of people, like you said, if you don't have a team in the NBA, you might want to watch this series and pick one of them because I felt like for a while that the Timberwolves with their big 3 of Edwards, Russell, and Cat, that they had potential there, and they really showed the potential in the second half of the season. So I'm looking forward to this matchup. Like I said, Memphis in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went 7.
The 3-6 matchup, the reigning, defending, future MVP, Nikola Jokic against the Golden State Warriors. Oh man, I feel bad for the Nuggets because Steph looks like he's going to be playing game 1. It looks like the Warriors are going to be healthy. The Nuggets got no help. Draymond's going to be barking at Jokic the entire time. I think Jokic is going to get a game, maybe 2, if Steph is like, depending on how Steph plays, he's either 30% or he's 90%. That's always the big thing with him is if he's not shooting well, it's like, oh, Steph's only 30% healthy, maybe even less than that. But if he goes off the next game, it's like, oh yeah, Steph is back, fully back. It's a
This
tough
is y'all MVP,
deal
y'all.
with.
This is this man's MVP. This man over
He
here.
is.
This is his
It's
man's
regular season.
MVP.
It's
This is this
regular
man.
season.
He's not gonna. He can't even get him to 7 games against the Warriors, against the banged up Warriors. He can't even get them to 7 games. I think that it's gonna be Warriors in 6. I don't believe in the Nuggets. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry for all the Jokic fans. 2,000, 1,000, 1,000. Oh, it's all great. He's the first player ever to do it. All fine and dandy. There should be an offensive player of the year then. That's what Jokic deserves. If this was the NFL, he would be the offensive player of the year because Kyrie Irving hasn't played the whole year. So that's the only reason why Jokic deserves it. He's the offensive player of the year, but the MVP is the most valuable player.
The
And that's why
Joel
I'm
Embiid
going.
might not make it out of the first round either.
That's why I'm going with Joel Embiid, and you're going with Joel Embiid to make it out of the first round.
It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't get out of the first round, though.
That's why
it would not shock me.
I did leave the door open for that one, but I have no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm going with the Warriors here. Warriors in 6. I do believe in Jokic enough to get 2 games against the Warriors, but the Warriors, if they can get healthy within like this first round and we kind of see them firing on all cylinders, they are the only big obstacle for the Suns to overcome before they get to the finals.
This is a good matchup for the Warriors in that, like, you're right, if they get healthy, because they haven't. I checked these numbers of like Steph, Clay, and Draymond this season. They've played like 30 minutes together, like that. That's it. Like they haven't even started and like finished a game together because when Clay returned, Draymond started and then immediately fouled and checked himself out of the game. The one game they did play, Draymond was coming off the bench. Another game they played, Draymond was coming off the bench. Steph only played like 13 minutes. They've not played at all together this season. Obviously, we know they have chemistry when they're on the floor together. They're really fucking good. But they haven't played like not only this season together, but together with this lineup. They haven't played together with like Jordan Poole, who is now coming into his own and is like a legit scorer. Andrew Wiggins. They haven't really played with him either. So this is a series, and this is a good series for the Warriors if they can get healthy, get on the same page. This is a matchup you want because the Nuggets, you're really only worried about Jokic to beat you offensively and defensively. There's not much resistance from their perimeter defense. Like they just don't have a lot going on. You can easily kind of pick them apart, especially with all the movement that they have on their offense. This is a series where the Warriors, they might lose a game just off of the Jokic factor if he's just going to win them a game, and they might lose a game just off of the like coming together factor and figuring things out. But this is going to be a good growing series for the Warriors of like, hey, they're going to figure things out this series, and next series is when you should be deathly afraid of them.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I really had Jordan Poole in my like 6th man of the year conversation before the season started because I knew Jordan Poole had a whole bunch of talent, but he's really showed out and he started too many games to be in the 6th man of the year conversation. I think he started 51 out of 76, so he's out of that conversation, but he's a most improved candidate for sure because he's really played his heart out with the injuries that the Warriors have been suffering. So that's why I'm really looking forward to this series because this is kind of a series for the Warriors to kind of get the kinks out, get Steph into Steph mode, get Clay. We want to see Clay be a legitimate scorer in the playoffs. We want to see Draymond be that defensive anchor that he's always been for them. Jordan Poole plays well. You got Wiggins, who's an all-star this season. So they have a lot of different pieces that kind of work to their advantage and that will be effective even against the Suns. And they're, like I said, once again, they are the only obstacle for the Suns wants to overcome. You said it yourself with the Memphis Grizzlies. You wouldn't be surprised if the Timberwolves beat them. That's why even if they make it past the Timberwolves, I don't see the Grizzlies beating the Warriors. If the Warriors are able to get those kinks out, get healthy in this series, I think that they are going to beat the Grizzlies within like 6, maybe 7 games. I think the Grizzlies have enough defense on the defensive end that they can keep up with the Warriors and make it a 7-game series. But I think even against the Grizzlies, it's going to be 6 games. So I got the Warriors finishing off the Nuggets because I have more faith in Jokic than even these big Jokic fans who are saying that he's trying to give him a token and charity MVP. He's still going to win 2 games because he is one of the best players in the world. So I do have Warriors in 6.
Mavericks and Jazz, this series kind of took a turn in the final game of the season when for some reason Luka decided to play, despite they had something to play for because it was possible they could get up to the 3 seed if they had won and the Warriors lost. Like either way, you're getting the Nuggets or the Jazz. I probably would have just like rested him and felt comfortable no matter if you get the Nuggets or the Jazz. Like I would have just felt comfortable. Like you'd rather just have Luka than not have Luka, no matter who you're playing against. If Luka misses 2 games or just isn't healthy, I'm going with Utah because this team is not good outside of him. And
No.
I have very little faith in Utah, but like this is a bad Dallas Mavericks team if you don't have Luka. If they have Luka, different story. I'm going with the Mavericks. I have no faith in the Jazz. This is just a weird series that really just hinges on the health of Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I think because of that injury, this is going to be a 7-game series, and it really is going to come down to how many games of this 7-game series Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. So I don't think he's going to be Luka Doncic even if he plays in Game 1. So I think the Jazz might win Game 1 and surprise some people, and then they might even win Game 2. They might go into Utah with a 2-0 advantage. So that is going to be where this game is going to shift either or. I'm going to be confident in Luka enough to say that he plays at least 5 games of the series and maybe the Mavs are able to pull this out. But yeah, I'm going to take the Mavs in 7 because of that stupid. I don't understand. It didn't matter. It really didn't matter. I don't understand. I didn't understand why the Celtics played to get the 2 seed because why would you want to play the Nets? I don't understand. I wouldn't understand. I didn't understand that. And I didn't understand the difference between, you're versing, the Nuggets team without Jokic is depleted. It's depleted to say the best. So maybe you wanted that matchup, but it just wasn't enough of a risk to play those players in the last game of the season, and it may have cost the Mavericks their chance to even make it into the conference final or make it that far. So I think the Mavs do get this series here, but because of this injury, I'm not confident in them against the Suns. I think the Suns are going to beat them in like 5 games with the injured Luka, because even if Luka comes back and he's able to play a majority of the games in this 7-game series, that wear and tear is going to be there from this first round, and he's not going to have enough in the second round. And we've seen that with Luka, that he can have like 4 or 5 games in the first round that he plays great, but then as it goes on in that series, 6-7 games, he still puts up his stats, but he just doesn't have it in like the fourth quarters. So I think that's going to be the big difference here.
I'm with you. I'm fascinated by Utah in this playoffs, like in general, because if they lose this series, whether Luka plays or not, like if they lose this series, they've got to completely blow it up. Yeah, this team. And like they're gonna get Golden State or they're gonna get Phoenix next round, and they're probably gonna have to blow it up after that too, because I don't think they're beating Phoenix. I think there's a lot of pressure on Donovan Mitchell to deliver. Whether Luka plays or not, I'm gonna go work under the assumption that Luka will play the majority of the games. Probably won't be 100% though. I think there's a lot of pressure on Donovan Mitchell to deliver more than Gobert, because Gobert he is what he is defensively. He's great. Offensively, he is what he is. But like Mitchell's the leading scorer, and that's the number one option on offense. So there's going to be just more pressure on him. I'm going with Dallas, assuming Luka is healthy enough to play the majority of the games. Otherwise, I like Utah because I don't think Dallas is very good without Luka.
No, like I said, if Luka can play 4 to 5 games, then I'm gonna take the Mavs to win all those games. Like I said, my theory for the playoffs remains the same through all the series we've talked about in the first round. Whoever has the best player on the court, that's the team I'm riding with. So if Luka plays, yeah, I'm going with the Mavs in 7. But if Luka doesn't play, I think it's Utah in like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I could easily see them if Luka misses. Uh, if he misses like the first 2 or 3 games, I could easily see 5 or 6 for Utah because I don't think the Mavericks get a game without Luka. That team's just not that great. And there's a very real possibility of because I mean we kind of thought this last year when the Clippers everybody just got like hurt and it was like oh well, the Jazz are easily going to win this series now and then they
True.
still lost. There's a very real possibility that Utah is just not good enough to do anything. And I mean Dallas plays the 5-out offense. Obviously with Luka, it's a lot easier to do that and have success than without him. Um, but there's a very real possibility that even without him, the Jazz just like play down the competition and just can't figure it out. And Gobert is a non-factor, and Mitchell just doesn't play very well. But this Mavericks team, I don't think is as good as even that banged up Clippers team last year. I mean, I like Dinwiddie, but if that's your number one option, you're kind of in trouble. The rest of
Yeah.
those guys, they're just like there, like they play their role well, but Luka kind of makes everything run for that team. It's such a shame that Luka played in that last game and ended up getting injured. There was no. I
No reason.
understand. Yeah, I understand. Like they're like, oh, maybe we can get the 3 seed, but it's like you're facing the Jazz or the Nuggets either way. You would rather have. It doesn't matter like who you face. Like you would just rather have Luka, and you'd rather rest him and make sure he's healthy than try to get your matchup against the Nuggets or the Jazz because that one could have gone either way too. Because I think if the Jazz had lost and the Nuggets had won, then the
I think
Nuggets could
so.
have jumped up to 5. So you're really basing it on all right, the Warriors have to lose, and then depending on who you wanted, I'm assuming they wanted the Nuggets, maybe like that's why they decided to
Yeah.
play. But then so again, the Warriors would have to lose, and then the Nuggets would have to win, and the Jazz would have to lose. That's too many factors, too many variables, relying on too many other teams to be like, yeah, we're going to definitely play Luka here to make sure we win this game and do what we need to do. Just let them play it out, and however the chips fall, you have a healthy Luka Doncic.
That was the smart way to go at it. So see, I'm not saying that Jeremy doesn't deserve an NBA coaching job. I'm saying he doesn't deserve the Los Angeles Lakers job because he slandered us. But he deserves a coaching job because
Did I slander
at least
when?
you're at least you called them children. They are not children.
They are.
1 out of the 3 ain't children. He just gets injured. He's fragile. He's not a child. He doesn't cry.
The other two are children.
I'm not going to debate against Westbrook or LeBron after their exit interviews.
No. Anthony Davis, child. The way he forced himself out of New Orleans, child.
That's not a child. That is a teenager. He was frustrated. He was frustrated, and he wanted to move on to a better, successful team. And he got an NBA champion for it. He's a teenager at the very least. Teenagers are not child. He's not an adolescent. He's a teenager. But you do deserve a coaching job because you think a lot smarter than Jason Kidd did. So I'll give you that.
I deserve the Lakers head coaching job.
No.
I will throw my resume. I'm flying out to Los Angeles.
You want to go to California? Go to Sacramento. You could be the Sacramento Kings
I could
coach.
get that job too. They should honestly hire me. One of these teams, they just got to do the Eddie approach of just pulling the fan out of the stands and just like, sure, let's go with it.
What a great movie! That's what we're gonna do in the off season. We're gonna just talk about basketball movies. Like that. That's like my favorite. That's one of my favorite genres of movies. Eddie, so many ones. Above the Rim. There's so many good ones.
You gotta watch basketball.
Oh, basketball. Yes, I haven't seen that in years. It's been years. Oh my God. Coach Carter is another great one. So yeah. That's
We
what
can
we're
do
doing
that.
in
We can
off
watch
season.
basketball films. Joanna Man. I watched that one.
Oh, you just see you popped me so much with that one, Joanna, man. I'm sorry. That's the best song connected to a movie is Fat Joe and Ashanti. What About Love with Joanna, man. Oh my God.
Watch the Like Mike movies. My favorite, legitimately, my favorite movie of all time is White Man Can't Jump.
Oh,
So we'll watch that.
dude, the S and SP3, if you go by my government, is Sydney. So you know I love me some White Man Can't Jump with a black man Wesley Snipes being called Sydney. I popped for that when I was a kid. I still pop for it to this day. Yeah, White Man Can't Jump is a classic.
Our pal Cher Delaware got me White Man Can't Jump Funko Pops for my birthday last year. So yes, that's my favorite movie of all time. I love that film. But yeah, we'll just review basketball films in the off season. You can do that.
Awesome.
All right, we're not going to talk about Entourage today because as I figured, we just talked a lot about the NBA playoffs. We'll get back on the Entourage track next week, assuming we just don't have a shit ton to talk about when it comes to the NBA playoffs, which would probably be the case.
Yeah.
SP3, you guys, I might pop on because you guys, Steven Jensen alerted me that you guys aren't talking about Degrassi on Degrassi Dudes. You're talking about Saved by the Bell, so I might have to pop on. And
Yo, please do, because it was basically in our conversation about Jay and Silent Bob. I don't know how we got to Saved by the Bell, but it came into my head because I looked it up a couple of weeks back that Saved by the Bell, the new class, lasted more seasons than Saved by the Bell, the original series. And then we had people in the comments being like, "Oh, what if you add Good Morning Miss Bliss and the college years?" The new class still has more seasons than Zach, Slater, and the gang. Like that was the amazing thing that I remember us talking about. So when Jensen hit me up this week and said, "What do you want to talk about on Degrassi Dudes?" I think it was the nice follow up to dedicate a whole episode to talk about Saved by the Bell. So we're gonna be talking about Saved by the Bell. We'll talk maybe a little bit about Good Morning Miss Bliss because I've seen all those episodes. I remember on syndication you had Zach in like a little studio, like, yeah, I remember me in junior high, and we had a teacher named Miss Bliss. So we're gonna talk in depth about Saved by the Bell, and then on Twitch we're gonna watch a few episodes of Zach Morris's Trash. I just put my lady onto it. She was laughing yesterday at some of these episodes. So yes, stay tuned for that.
That's right here on Fightful Overbooked. So yeah, stick around. Saved by the Bell talk. I love that show. Honestly, like all time rankings, it is very high up there. I watch that just like every morning before school, every day after school.
Same. That's how I woke up in the morning. It used to come on at like 7 a.m., 6 a.m. on TBS, and that's how I woke up every morning. My mom would know how to just turn that on. It was that and Pokemon. Those are the two shows that I remember waking up to when I was a kid in elementary school.
So Jensen and SP3 are going to be talking about Saved by the Bell, and I might have to pop on that. I got some stuff to listen to, but Saved by the Bell talk is going to overrule some Tony Storm interview. All right, everybody. We will be back next week to talk about more NBA playoffs, and we'll talk to y'all then. Any other plugs, SP3? I don't want to shortchange you on plugs.
Just follow the Twitter page, True Hill SP3. Tomorrow, True Hill Heat 171 on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, 11:05 a.m. Eastern time. Check that out, and yeah, that's all for now.
There you go.
I'll see you in about 15 minutes.
Stay here with Five Overbooked later today after Degrassi Dudes talking Saved by the Bell. Right now, we got coexisting with Rob and Maggie at 3 p.m. Eastern. So Rob's in the chat. Maggie, who rules, they'll be talking stuff in wrestling. I'm sure all the fun stuff in wrestling. So next week, I plan to get back on track with the YouTube. Sick this week, just rough couple of weeks, everybody. But I appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support. Talk to y'all later on. Bye, everybody.